What's up, humans? It's freaking hot these days, and yeah, it's summer. What else is there to say? Today I want to talk to you about the German expedition knife from Eickhorn, and I'm gonna tell you everything about it that you need to know. All the good things, all the bad things, basically. And yeah, it's just an interesting knife to look at. But before we do that, we're gonna take a look at some other field knives, because really for me, I've always been liking field knives. I think it's a cool concept. It's basically most of the time it's like a military intended knife, but it also somehow also fits in the outdoors. Now, some of them are better than others. This one is a really good one, for instance. This is the Mark II design made by K-Bar. This design has been made by a lot of different companies, Camillus, Case Knives. During World War II, a lot of manufacturers put out this design because they couldn't make enough of them. This one is made by K-Bar, like I said, 4 millimeters on the blade stocks, relatively thin. In this case, leather stacked handle, looks extremely beautiful, smells really beautiful. And yeah, thin blade, thin cutting blade with a cutout and a guard and a pommel. So it's a red tang basically. Really good knife. This is probably what got me into field knives, like probably the knife that sold me on the whole concept of a longer blade, but that's not too wide, and yeah, basically a good all-rounder. What else do we have? Oh, this is a cool one. This is not a Randall Model 1. This is a clone, basically, made by Cold Steel. Now, the Model 1 is a really popular Randall knife since, I don't know since when they are making it. It was popular in the 60s and 70s, so Vietnam era, but they could be making it longer. And yeah, this is Cold Steel's, or was Cold Steel's version of this design, I should say. Very beautiful, more of a fighter style. You have 2 grinds basically, and on top of the second grind you have a sharpened wedge. It's not sharpened to a 0 edge, but you know, it's sharp. You can cut yourself in there. And cool thing with this is you can turn it around and your finger fits into here, and you can cut like this if you do rope cutting or something like this. It's a big block of micarta on the back, and yeah, with liners, but they have been, I think they have been white and black. They have been discolorized at this point. Very cool knife, and you got a leather sheath of this. I think this is the Aus 8 version. This is highly collectible at this point. You don't get this anymore. Cold Steel was a much cooler company in the past, I feel, than today. But whatever, it is what it is. Yeah, this one, very popular knife. And as you can see, in the late 70s, early 80s, it changed quite a bit. The military style field knives got worse and worse. This is the Glock field knife. It's not a bad knife for the money, but it's not a good knife either. And it's way too slim. Has a very thick spine and a very thick behind the edge geometry. But at least it is robust and lightweight, and yeah, not a big profile. So the Glock field knife. This one is an original Austrian military one. So I guess it's collectible. I've been using this since I was 16, and it has picked up this gross, almost camouflage-like patina at this point. Yeah, I've done a lot of stupid stuff with it, a lot of things that I shouldn't do, that you shouldn't do with a knife, but yeah, Glock field knife is indestructible. And this is another modern interpretation of the field knife. This is the JP Peltonen M95. Basically, they broke down the whole concept of the field knife to a bare minimum. Very simple blade shape, rubberized handle, so you keep you away from the cold and the wet conditions, which leather does as well actually, and micarta. So they had a lot of good stuff in back in the days, and yeah, same concept though. Designed by a Finnish general, I think, or some sort of Finnish officer for the Finnish military. Very good field knife, but you know, if you compare it to the old days, by far not as cool. So in Germany there was this guy called Tony Lennartz, and I mean, he's still around, hopefully, but he designed a field knife for his purposes, and he called it the German expedition knife. It's basically, the whole concept is very simple. Good clip point blade with a very basic handle that's cut out on the inside, so you have a little bit less weight. Now, the German expedition knife was made by Puma, I believe, in the beginning, and then it was made by Eickhorn. And when Tony parted with Eickhorn, they discontinued in my opinion, probably the best version of the GAK that has been around, because it had the original handle and the Eickhorn blade. And Tony Lennartz went to Boca, and Boca now makes the GAK for I think like 270 euros, very expensive. And yeah, so Eickhorn made their own GAK version. They still called it the German expedition knife, and it has still a lot of features of the original one, but they have changed the handle so far. So this is the GAK that's now made by Eickhorn. You can see they have added finger grooves, and but they left the open construction in the handle, which some of you may find that weird, but it's actually, it doesn't bother you when gripping it. You don't slip into these. You still hold on it like on a normal grip. It's not, I don't know, it's not just because it's an open construction doesn't mean it's worse than a closed construction. It just saves you weight, and the balance point is still, I mean, the knife is still relatively balanced. It doesn't drop too much forward. But it's still a good chopping knife. You can still do the chopping chores with it, and yeah, I think it's a good design. And the good thing about these cutouts is that you save a lot of weight. I mean, if you think about it, this is a 16.7 centimeter blade, which is 6.5 inches. So it's very much, you know, comparable to a Mark II, and it only weighs, let's get out the scale here, 258 grams, which this one has 300 grams, I think. Yeah, this one has 300 grams. So this one is basically thicker on the blade stock. We have 5 millimeters on the blade stock thickness, and this one has just 4 millimeters. So this one is technically more robust. Technically, this one is also plenty robust, but this one is technically more robust and has a higher flat ground blade. So it's a higher grind with a thicker blade stock, and it weighs less. And that's pretty cool, I think, because less weight is always good. Now, depending on what you do, sometimes weight is good as well, but yeah. So we have 9.2 ounces, if I didn't mention it in ounces, 9.2 ounces on the weight here, on this guy. Pretty cool. The blade shape is a really basic, but really effective clip point. You have 2 parallels going, so a straight edge basically. You can transfer the energy directly into the cut because it's parallel to the spine, and you have a good belly, and then a really nice, precise and fine tip. The tip is not flimsy, however. I did some prying with this tip, and you should never pry with a tip this thin. It's just stupid. But I did some prying with it, and as long as you don't pry with the very end of the point, but use a little bit of that thickness in the back, you have no issues at all. At least I didn't have issues. Of course, you can break this tip very easily. You just have to be careful. I just wanted to see how much I can push it. Yeah, as you saw in the beginning, I did plenty of tests with this guy, and yeah, I started out with the bottle chopping because I wanted to see how the geometry is. It's a really good test to see how's the knife balanced and how the geometry cuts through material, and it did exceptionally well. Haven't tested a knife this good for bottle chopping in a while now, and yeah, just a really good blade to do this sort of task. And did a lot of cardboard cutting after that. It was all with the factory edge, by the way. The cardboard cutting extremely well. The knife goes through cardboard surprisingly good. I even at some point I cut with my Spyderco Stretch in K390 through the same material, and this knife performed just as well as the Spyderco. So it's and the Spyderco is much thinner on the spine and grind. So yeah, really good cutting wise. Did some rope cutting as well to see how the edge retention is. The steel is N695, which is 440C equivalent, I guess. And I have a lot of experience with N695. I think it's a good outdoor steel. It sharpens well, it holds an edge well. It's a good all-rounder, and it's stainless as well, if you care for that. I don't care too much anymore for stainless steels. I like carbon steels also, but yeah, if it's a good steel, it's a good steel. Now, you have the option of getting this knife in 3 different steels. You have the, what's it called, 14110 steel. It's an European stainless steel. In my experience, it's probably more of a lower grade steel. And then you have the N695. And the 14110 comes in at 190 and 50 cents. The N695 comes at 230 euros, and then you have K110, which is basically Bowler's version of D2 steel, for 250 euros. Now, honestly, I think N695 is just fine. The other steel that costs less, I was not sure about that. I think it's probably a lower grade steel and won't be that good as this one is. And the K110 is probably not necessary, I think. But it probably gives you more edge retention if you need that. Not 100% necessary though, I guess. So yeah, I went with the N695, and I went with the forest green G10. I don't know if they call it forest green G10 from the manufacturer, but it is a forest green G10. Yeah, it's not like your, OD green. It's a different kind of green. They also make it in coyote brown and black G10, and you can choose between open or closed construction. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already. So if you do worry about those open scales, which, like I said, it's not a problem, you can choose the closed construction as well. I just like the open construction because it's more in the spirit of the original one. And the G10 is really coarse. It's not really coarse, but it is coarse. It's like, Cold Steel used to do this on the G10. They don't do it anymore. But yeah, this kind of G10. Which on a folder, oftentimes it gives you problem with the clip. In this case, I think it works really well on a fixed blade because you don't slip in either direction as easily. And yeah, what other choices do we have? Oh yeah, you can choose between this blade color and a black coated. I think it's a DLC coating on the black coating, but the coating will cost you a couple of euros more. And this is like a sandblasting. Not sure what kind of coating it is, but it's like feels like a sandblasting or some sort of coating with a sandblasting. I don't know. So in this gray color, and it holds up very, very well. But you don't get the option of choosing a satin or stonewash. They only have gray coating or black coating, basically. And yeah, that's just how it is. I don't mind it though. I think it's it still works fine for me. And You get this knife with a leather sheath, and I was stupid enough to see that they have a Kydex sheath available for this knife, but I didn't realize that the Kydex sheath was actually with a leather liner on the inside of the sheath, which is super cool. I just thought, okay, Kydex sheath, I can make a Kydex sheath myself. I don't need somebody else, you know, charge me 40, 60 euros more for a Kydex sheath that I can make myself. I just didn't realize that I have leather liners, so that's a pretty cool option as well. Now, since I have the leather sheath, yeah, I don't mind it. I think it's a good sheath. You can see it has this hook here, and that's made so you can stick it in your belt like they did in the 19th century. So you don't have to take your belt off if you just want to carry it somewhere really quickly, or put it on really quickly, I should say. And then you have one loop, but two sections, so you have high right and low right basically, but it's not overly low. Still, it's yeah, it's still below, it's still above the waistline. So yeah, and then you have this buckle here to close the sheath, which I was worried about in the beginning, because my fear was that if I draw the knife, so this is how it's closed, no rattle, retention is fine. It's not, you know, it's not press fit, but it's, you know, it holds the blade in. I was worried that whenever I would draw the knife, I would dull the blade by running it against the buckle here. But actually, as you can see there, it's, as long as you press the spine of the knife against the sheath, you don't have an issue. You just shouldn't handle it to someone that doesn't know, you know, knives. But for me, it's normal to. I press every knife with the spine against the sheath when I draw it. It's kind of. I kind of don't even think about that anymore. So yeah. What else did I did? I did quite a few chopping tasks with this, and also chopped down the same kind of wood that I used in the last video that I did with the K-bar and the Peltonen and the Pathfinder. So if you like this style of knife, this video may also interest you, but you know, you don't have to watch it. I don't care about watch times or clicks or anything or subscribers. I really don't. So, you know, do whatever you like. And yeah, I used the same wood, and the knife was really painful to chop with. It had enough weight and enough heft, and you can hold the knife. How can I show you this? So you can hold the knife like this, and you can hold it like this for chopping. And the grip actually works fine. You don't lose a grip easily, but it's incredibly painful because these corners here were really, really sharp. And yeah, not a really pleasant experience. The same thing with cutting wood, so making feather sticks, sharpening a stick, all that kind of, any wood related task, really painful with this handle. And it feels like the blade wants to perform with that flat ground blade, and with that high flat ground I mean. And the edge retention is good, the steel heat treatment seems to be really good. I only stropped the knife once in my entire testing, and yeah, it kept the slicing paper sharpness all the way to the end. But yeah, the handle just limits the blade from being, you know, being the ultimate performance knife. And I wish they would have put a different handle on here that was a little bit more contoured, because basically it's just, you know, two flat scales. It's like on a pocket knife, like on a, I don't know, a Spyderco military or paramilitary. Really uncomfortable handle for harder use task. In fact, actually my Spyderco military is even more comfortable than this handle for cutting wood with. But yeah, I did, since then I did Dremel down the edges of the scales, and also used some sandpaper as well. And yeah, this made the handle a lot more comfortable when chopping and cutting wood. But however, it's still not a perfect grip on here. Like I said, it's two flat scales, and two flat scales for a fixed blade, in my experience, don't work as well yeah, the handle just needs to be contoured for, you know, to some extent at least. So yeah, the handle is a little bit too thin and not too much contoured. The aluminum liners here look really ugly. I made some very nice detailed photos of this. Very nice. I made some detailed photos of this. Is what I want to say. And they look pretty ugly. Machining is pretty rough on this guy. And I feel like for a knife that costs $190 to $250, and with the black coating even more, I think it's not okay to put out a knife that looks that roughly machined. Emerson. Yeah, it's just not nice at this price point. I personally don't care because I care about the usability factor more. I wish if this had a better handle, I would, you know, completely not even tell you about this machining flaw. But yeah, the liners don't line up with the handle. It's just a little bit ugly, but it is what it is. It still works. The contouring on the handle scales would have been more important. So yeah, did we skip anything? I don't know. Oh yeah, batoning. Did a lot of batoning as well. Exceptional well at this weight and thickness for batoning. Yeah, really, really good. Can't say any negative things about it. I even baton some really nasty seasoned cherry, which gives a lot of my knives big problems. This one didn't have too many problems. So yeah, great on the batoning as well. And overall, I think the blade is really, really nice. I do like this much better than a Boca blade because it has a higher grind. Yeah, I think a good blade is important for a knife. But you need a good handle in order to go, you know, along with this. Now there is a version of the GEK which has, I think, virtually the same blade shape, but it has the handle from the KM2000. The KM2000 is basically the military knife of the German army, and it looks like this. This is the older KM2000 with the old tanto. Now they have like a modified tanto that's I don't know, even uglier. Very bad knife, the KM2000, but it has this. Why is it very bad? Because it's very bad for cutting things, and a knife should cut things. So yeah, it's a sharpened pry bar basically. But it has this handle that they use on a lot of their designs, and they have a version with the GK blade and this handle, which only costs like, I think, 120 euros, which in my opinion is probably the best value because you get a more comfortable handle with a better blade, I think. I haven't tried this version, but I think this is probably maybe even a better version than this. I just really like the open construction and the whole Tony Leonard spirit behind this with the, you know, the sheath and everything. And yeah, I think Tony Leonard has some good ideas, and he built probably one of the best you know, field knife designs, or he designed one of the best field knife designs. But yeah, currently there is the Boca version, which is thick behind the edge but has the good handle, and then there is this version which has the nice blade but the bad handle. So yeah, I don't know, the world is not perfect, I guess. So yeah, would you still buy this knife? Like I said, probably to other people I would recommend the version with the KM2000 handle, but I personally would probably buy this knife again because I like it. And like I said, yeah, I think the N695 to me was the best steel they had. I don't need D2 steel for, you know, my outdoor blades necessarily, and the other steel might be a little bit lower in natural tension. So yeah. But 230 euros is a lot of money for a knife that hurts that much when using it. So I don't know. So you basically have to make up your own mind if it's worth it to you. Like I said, I would buy it again. It's not the perfect outdoor knife. To summarize this whole discussion here, it's not the perfect fixed blade ever. It's yeah. It's a good, I would say it's a good car knife, it would be a good bike knife, it would be a good knife that you use occasionally, but not for hours and hours and hours. So if it's a knife that you use to take down, you know, several trees and build a fort with it, this is not the knife to go with, because it will be very uncomfortable at some point. So if you use it a little bit and then put it away again and then use it a little bit, that's fine, but it's not fine for constant use. So I think I don't have skipped anything. Yeah, this is my opinion on the Eickhorn GK. Yeah, maybe I will do another video on this knife in the future. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, maybe we'll see each other in another video. Goodbye, people.